Sound levels. Okay, so we are good. Because y'all know how it is when you don't have your sound on if you've ever done any live streaming. So, welcome to Teaching Tip Tuesday. My name is Michelle, aka the Ignited Teacher. And what I do here on Teaching Tip Tuesday is I help math teachers of struggling learners to effectively manage their classrooms and to increase student achievement. And what I do and how I do that is I help teachers with math strategies, like what we'll talk about tonight. And I also provide training with classroom management, not just your regular classroom management. This the classroom management that really supports students that have social emotional learning deficits. And I also help with response to intervention. That will be your math intervention, which are tier 2 and tier 3 students, as well as technology integration and some project-based learning, which that is the framework I use to support struggling learners. So welcome to Teaching Tip Tuesday. If you're new here, thank you for tuning in tonight. And if you are one who catches me every Teaching Tip Tuesday, whether it be on a replay, on YouTube, Twitter, thank you for being a part of this community, because we know that in this world of teaching, it's not an easy world, but our community makes it a whole lot better. So thank you for being a part of my community. So if you're not able to catch me on Teaching Tip Tuesday live, you can always catch all of my Teaching Tip Tuesday episodes on YouTube at The Ignited Teacher. All you have to do is type in the search bar, The Ignited Teacher, and I will come up. And definitely subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to hit the bell notification so you'll know when I go live or upload a new video. So without further ado, let me go on this side. So that's my YouTube channel. And on this channel, I talk about just different things, the classroom management strategies. I do some lessons on there with demonstration lessons. Also, I want to encourage you all, if you all are not a part of my math intervention Facebook group, definitely look that up, is math intervention with the Ignited Teacher, because I am about to start some strategy things in that group for supporting teachers. It's going to be a rough ride these next, I don't know how many years, because of the pandemic. A lot of our veteran teachers have left. And honestly, the people who have retired did retire. And I'm thinking the people who didn't retire and wanted to last year will be moving on this year. I've heard a lot of different people talking about they are, not going to come back after this school year. So I think having a community is going to be more important than ever. So moving on to tonight's topic. So tonight I'm talking about knowing when to use conceptual versus the algorithm. And this is always a hot topic. And, you know, a lot of our students, especially students that struggle, that's one of the things that teachers really I don't think we really understand, especially math teachers, where the student is in the continuum of learning. So you know, I don't know if you've ever been told that we're supposed to teach from basic to abstract. And we're talking about basic in the fact that things are very simple, and then we move and increase the rigor of the skill. But a lot of our students are not there. They're just not there. And there are two cases that I am going to talk about, or two instances that I'm going to talk about tonight, where you should really look at teaching algorithms versus conceptual. The first area is going to be, where are your students at? So I can remember, I think the year before my last year in fifth grade, let me scoot over. in fifth grade, because I'm not in the screen. Um, my last year in fifth grade, I had a student that she worked really, really, really hard. But one of the issues was I realized that whenever I taught a skill, especially with fractions, she drew a picture. Now, did she get the answer correct? Yes. But you know that at certain grade levels, you're supposed to be teaching either the algorithm or it's at a conceptual level. So those are the two places that you are. And sometimes our children are not there. So, as a math teacher, or even if you're a math interventionist, you have to make the decision of where are you going to teach the children. More often than not, a lot of teachers end up trying to bang that, what is the word I'm looking for? They're trying to move the child faster than they really should be going. So, when you have a child that is at the conceptual level, you really should be teaching the child at the conceptual level with the goal of moving the child to the algorithm, which is your abstract. That's the first case when we're talking about knowing when to teach the conceptual understanding versus the algorithm. And even if you're a high school teacher, if you have students that are not there, and I'm teaching, I'm a math support teacher for ninth grade students, definitely the kids that are at risk. A lot of my students are at the conceptual level, but one thing that I had to adjust when I went to high school is those kids have to go from conceptual to abstract really quickly because high school curriculum assumes that the children are at the algorithm level and that they have had the conceptual understanding and support and has all those skills that they need to solve equations with the graphing calculator, because graphing calculators are a part of the ninth grade curriculum. They have to know how to use the technology. There's no getting a way around that. But in elementary, I had to shift my thinking last year and really realize that I have to move these kids from conceptual, even though they are there. Some of the kids move faster because they don't. Oh, I got something in my eye. They're not a blank slate. The children aren't a blank slate. So a lot of the older children move a lot faster than the elementary kids. So if you're going over a skill and some of the kids have a general understanding, but really it's not mastery, they have just a lot of misconceptions, the kids will move faster. Now, that's the first place where you have to make a decision of where am I going to begin this child? Because what happens is, and I'm going to go to this screen. So this is lead forward. And lead forward, it has some free things. Let me see. So I'm going to go out of it so you can see. So it's leadforward.com with a 4 right here. And then if you, what am I looking for? Go here. And this is for the state of Texas. And I tell teachers all the time, even if you're not in Texas, you can still use things or resources that they have. You just use them knowing that it may not be taught at the same grade level. That's the only thing. The concepts are the same. So if we go to resources, it has all the things that you need. So it starts at kindergarten, then they have the Spanish teaks and the English teaks. So I'm going to go to, I always use fourth and fifth grade for my frame of reference. So let me zoom this up. So in Texas, we have and I don't know why Microsoft, there we go, wants to put that on the side. So we have, in state of Texas, we have the readiness standards and the supporting standards. Well, with the readiness standards, a lot of times those standards are at the abstract level. So let's go to numbers and operations. And let me zoom in. So it says relate decimals, and the green is the readiness standard. Relate decimal fractions that name tenths and hundredths. Compare two fractions with different numerators and different denominators and represent the comparison with the symbol. Then it says represent and solve addition and subtraction of fractions with equal denominators using objects and pictorial models that build to number line and properties of operation. If you look here, it tells you where you're supposed to be at. And the readiness standards, if we're talking about testing, and we just got that dealt that blow that we must test. So if you're talking about testing, the students have to be at a mastery level, being able to use pictorial models. Now, if you go over here to the supporting standards, it says decompose a fraction more than one way into a sum of fraction with the same denominator using concrete pictorial models. So in here it says using a variety of methods. So that variety of methods can and must include your standard algorithm. It can't be, and I'm not talking about the butterfly method. That is not even a method that should be used in teaching this. So when you are determining where the child is supposed to be, first of all, the child is one. I gave you that first situation where it will tell you whether you're supposed to be at the pictorial or the abstract level. The next thing is your student expectation is going to tell you where you should be. So I'm going to go to 5th grade, and I'm going to show you the difference in the TEKS. So here we are at 5th grade. So look at 5.3G. Let me go over. So it says solve for quotients of decimals to the hundreds up to 4-digit dividends and 2-digit whole number divisors using strategies. Strategies meaning those pictorial models if you want to, and algorithms, including the standard algorithm. So not only does the child have to know the strategies, they must know the algorithm. And there are algorithms, and people say, well, it's an algorithm, but it's not the standard algorithm. The standard algorithm is the algorithm that the students will be using the rest of their lives. Like that means the division, if you want to call it a house bracket, and divisors and dividends. They have to be able to use the standard algorithm. And this TEK right here is shifting those students from the pictorial to the abstract. And they're talking, yeah, you can teach them partial quotients, which is an algorithm, but it has to include the standard algorithm. So when teachers are saying, well, we use partial quotients and partial products, well, I can tell you in fifth grade, they're not going to be doing that for much longer. It's a weaning process, and really it's the progression of the mathematics standards. So here, readiness standard, add and subtract positive rational numbers fluently. Divide whole numbers by unit fractions and unit fractions by whole numbers. So those are at the abstract level. But if you go over here to the supporting standard, it has all those things that you need to actually support that readiness standard. So you would, if you're going to teach, you have to start with the supporting standards and then move to that readiness standard, because the readiness standard is at the top of the student expectation, because it's the bridge from the previous grade level to the next grade level, which will be sixth grade. So here, your students must start at the pictorial level. So your student expectation says that they have to be able to use the standard algorithm or divide fluently. Well, that student may at some point during the school year be at the pictorial level, but your goal is to move them to the abstract, which is the algorithm. So hopefully that makes sense. And let me go over here. And go back here. So hopefully that makes sense about the two instances where you need to know when to teach the conceptual and when to teach the abstract. I see oftentimes a lot of teachers start with the abstract, which is the algorithm, when the student is at the pictorial level. And that's where the math intervention comes in. You have to intervene where the child is. And when I say intervene, that means if your student expectation says that, oh, this child is supposed to be using the standard algorithm, but they're not, and they're still using base 10 blocks to build models to divide, that's where you work with that child. And the goal is to move from the abstract, from the pictorial to the abstract. And that's where that vertical alignment strand comes in, because these are horizontal alignments, and I talk about that in one of my blog posts. The horizontal alignment is that division, they have to be at the abstract level when they leave. But that vertical alignment says, hey, division starts in end of second grade, third grade, fourth grade, and somewhere between second and fourth, you're going to have to intervene depending on where the child is. Now, I've had to start with pictorial models, but I know that my goal is not to stay there. So if you're a math interventionist, a math teacher who's working with below level children, you definitely need to pay attention to how they are choosing to do their work. That's what you need to pay attention to, because it's going to tell you where your students are in that progression. And if you're trying to, if the child is still drawing pictures, you have to find a way to build a bridge between where they are and where you want them to go. That's what math intervention is about. And that's what the vertical alignment does. It helps you build a bridge to where the child needs to go. And it's not a long drawn out process. It's a process that is accelerating learning, intervening at the right place at the right time, and then moving those children on. So, just a little recap of tonight's Teaching Tip Tuesday is knowing when to intervene. There are two situations. Knowing when to use conceptual versus the algorithm. The child will tell you through their work where they are. And you, as a teacher, you're the professional, has to determine where am I going to start teaching at. That's how you know if the child is still working in pictures. That's a conversation you all need to have. More than likely, a lot of the student expectations, especially in the early grades, a lot of those things are at the conceptual level. And there's this idea that teachers, you can't move kids through the progression because the curriculum says they should be here. No, if a child has mastered and can tell why and write about the conceptual process, move them on to the algorithm. There's nothing wrong with a second grader going ahead and using the algorithm if they can do and explain and write about the process. You don't have to keep them there. That's not what teaching and learning is about. We give kids things that they're ready for. Now, the second part is your student expectations are going to tell you where you need to start at. A lot of new skills, and with the Common Core standards, it changed the whole game about with curriculum. There were a lot of times a lot of things were introduced and mastered in the next grade level. That's no longer the case, and you saw that in the Lead Forward document. Those kids, a lot of things are introduced and mastered in the same year. And that's what makes these student expectations so difficult, because you're saying, oh, well, the child is here, but I have to give them there. That should be your goal. If you're looking at your TEKS, your student expectations, it's going to tell you where the child needs to go, and you have to determine how to get them there. So that's all I have for Teaching Tip Tuesday. And don't forget, if you can't catch me live and you're watching this on a replay, hop on over to my YouTube channel, subscribe right quick, and hit the bell notification so you can have access to all my Teaching Tip Tuesday tips. And thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're over there. And I'll see you all in my next live stream.